Well, here we are. It's like 2 people watching, 3 people watching. This is my it's my first time doing one of these, so just bear with me. I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to live streaming. My son will vouch for that. He had to help me get this going, but waiting on some people to join. We got nobody watching. This ought to be good. Got any viewers? We got one person watching. So I guess just whoever is watching, and type in and let me know if you can hear me okay. I've got an extra microphone here and just want to make sure everything's working. It looks like it's working on my side, but if you guys can't hear me, just let me know. Just waiting for some more people to join up. This is like putting on a concert and everybody's there, the band's there, and then there's nobody in the audience. Anybody? I guess I'll probably sit here for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then if nobody joins, I'm just going to shut it off. Chalk it up. Anybody? Oh, he can hear. Oh, my son's watching. All right. I got one viewer. So how this works is whoever's watching, just post something in the chat. Ask me whatever you want. The idea of this chat was to answer questions about HRG, answer questions about lift kits, anything you guys wanted to know. I've spent the last couple of years learning quite a bit about suspension design, especially with the earlier generation CRVs and second generation CRVs. This kind of our area of expertise. So I was hoping to get a few questions answered. I know a lot of people are asking questions online, and what better way to answer the questions than to directly face-to-face talk to you guys. So I'm hoping that more people will join so that we can get a few chats going. But I'm not seeing anything yet. Oh, there's the chat. For some reason, it just now came up. There we go. Yes. All right. We got a few people in here. Finally. Cool. So, hey, guys. Just wanted to answer a few questions. I see a few here already. I'm looking at Alan Fry. Merry Christmas. Hope business is great. Yes. Surprisingly enough, people are still buying these lift kits. So, I'm very happy about that. We got Sleepless 247. UT is a 3-inch spacer on your Instagram. What vehicle is that for? Well, if you're talking about the 3-inch subframe spacer, that's going to be for second gen CRV and Element as well. And the story there is we wanted to make a big lift, but the deal with those cars is you've got the tie rod end actually is above the frame rail, and when you do the strut top spacers, you can only go so tall before those tie rod ends hit the frame. And we, in our 3-inch kit, you have to notch the frame just to make it clear. So the only way to go any bigger would be to lift from the bottom. So the new lift coming out is going to be a strut bottom lift, and we're still in the development stages of that, but it's going to come with a 3-inch subframe kit, and that's what that spacer is that we showed. And it's basically going to be all billet aluminum spacers for the subframe front and rear, and then we still have a few things to work out on that kit, but it's coming along quite nicely, and we're hoping to get at least 4, maybe more inches of lift with that kit for the second gen CRV and Element. So that answers your question on that, hopefully. 4 to 6 inch complete lift for 96 Civic. Okay, Viper Strikes. So here's the deal with those older cars. The problem is the more you lift, the greater the angle of the upper A-arms, and there's a limitation there because of the ball joint design and all that stuff. So, there's companies that make a ball joint like extension type thing. I think there's a couple companies that make them now that kind of move the A-arm up a little bit, but that doesn't fix the real problem, which is the pivot point. Even though you're moving the arm up, the pivot point is still really low, and when you lift it really high, what happens is you get an extreme positive camber when the suspension moves through its arc. So the solution there would be to extend the spindles, which we were trying to do. The development and production costs were just too great to make a whole spindle from scratch. But that would solve the problem of being able to lift those 4 to 6 inches, because there's nothing else stopping you. The only thing we did with the early ones, like the 88 to 91s, like the War Wagon, is we put in we had extended spindles in there. So we extended them 3 inches, and we had a bunch of those made. And then after that, it was too expensive. We had to keep sourcing used spindles and getting them cut and extended and all that stuff, and it just wasn't practical. So to that end, I had this idea in my head of possibly creating some sort of a billet adapter that would extend the spindle up. When I say spindle, you guys know I'm talking about the steering knuckles. I call them spindles, but a lot of people call them steering knuckles. So they extends that up, and that way your pivot point is up high enough where the geometry is correct and the car doesn't do weird stuff every time you hit a bump. So that's a crazy problem with the first gen, not first gen, but like the first gen CRV, obviously, and then all the double wishbone suspension Hondas that have that same design. You can't make that lift up any higher because of that problem. So we're working on it. We'll see what we can do, but Viper Strikes, 4 to 6 inch complete Civic lift kit would be awesome, and I'd love to be able to do it. There's just a few problems with the design and suspension from the factory that we have to overcome to figure that out. So Honda Trucks, hey Ben, had a question about whether you have experimented with axle lengths. No, but I think that's that could be something for sure that could be looked at. Now, we were talking with Insane Shafts about possibly making either an extended length or an extended travel axle. It hasn't gone anywhere because I haven't really been able to put forth time towards pursuing that idea. But, obviously the biggest problem with these lift kits is the axle being at a crazy angle. Of course, you lose your, if you keep the axle straight, obviously you lose ground clearance under the car. I mean, it's the nature of an independent front suspension vehicle that's the way it is. But if you could get, say, an axle that's designed sort of like a side-by-side axle, which is made to go at a crazy angle and still function, if you could get something like that for first-gen CRV / Civic and all those, then the sky's the limit as far as how much travel and all that stuff that we could do. So the extended length axle, I'm not sure if that would be as effective, because at some point the axle is going to be completely straight, And if it's extended, whenever it comes to its completely straight point, it might jam together and it might bottom out. So that's the issue with that design, and I don't know that an extended would solve it. But it's always definitely a conversation. I'm going to try to talk to the guys at Insane Shafts again and see if there's something more we can do. So let's see. Alan Fry. So with my 6-inch lift on my EF, will I have front upper control arm problems like stated with 96 plus? Will I require extended knuckles? Yes, you will require extended knuckles. It will not work on a 6-inch lift. You can't do it without extended spindles. It just won't work. Even if you used, like, if you could like retrofit some sort of modified upper control arm, it's still, like I said, it wouldn't change the pivot points. You could make the axle or make the angle more straight for the ball joint, so the ball joint wouldn't be maxed out all the time, but it wouldn't change the way the suspension behaves. And that's what you're doing when you extend that spindle, is you change the way the suspension behaves when you hit a bump. So the extended spindle is a must. Now, we can't mass produce those. So if you do require one, it would be a matter of you'd have to ship us your spindles and we could get them done. It's not going to be cheap. And that is really the reason why we discontinued that 6-inch kit, is because of that. There are a few guys that have them. Nicky Asby, he's got a really cool EF sedan that he's working on. And it's got like pretty much all the stuff we make on there. Lower control arm drop in the back. We've only made a couple of those, and he has one. I think there's one more right now going out, and that will be sending out this week as well, I think, next week. So, Alan, I think that's yours, actually. If I remember right, you have a sedan or whatever that you're putting the 6-inch lift on, because you're going to be the only other one that has that lower control arm drop in the back. So, yeah, Nikki, I know your build's taking a long time, man. But hey, listen, I spent 10 years building the car one time, and it took me so long to build that car that by the time it was finished, all the parts that I started with were out of date. They had upgraded to like new stuff. Like I had bought some performance parts, so don't feel bad, man. Sometimes it just takes as long as it takes. Sleepless247, how are the Pilot lift kits selling? I've been posting on all the Pilot Facebook groups, try to get the word out there on you guys. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the Pilot kits are slow in comparison to the other stuff we sell. But, I think it's just like everything else. It gains momentum, and, eventually there'll be more and more people that talk about them and how well they work, and that they'll get out there, and it'll be a lot more volume on the Pilot stuff. And also, every time we get our hands on the car for a long enough time, we can really like dig into it and see what works and what doesn't work and how to improve. Our kits will even get better, and I think that might be the edge that we'll get over some of the competitors, is we'll have a product that is really, really well thought out. So, it's just, for us, it's just a matter of taking the time to really tear a car apart and see what we can do to make the kits better. But right now, yeah, they're selling pretty decently, I would say. I should do a New Year's giveaway. Well, I'll tell you what, I just gave away the last of the $1,000 that we started for the beginning of this month. Actually, I gave away some in November, but I say the last of the $1,000. I still have $100 bill and a $50 bill. It's going to go in one of the kits this week, I would assume. But that's pretty much all we have left as far as the cash. I'd love to give more stuff away, but we don't really have anything right now to give away. Let's see. Should do a New Year's giveaway, yeah. Thanks, I figure, yeah, Ellen Fry, thanks, I figured that's me. Getting the rear kit sub drop. I guess I'll be on the knuckles soon. Yeah, we don't sell them, unfortunately, and it is something you are going to need. There are a few floating around out there. I think we sold a total of 8 or 9 of those big 6-inch kits when they first came out. But yeah, man, it sucks. I really wish we could have just made the spindles from scratch. and been able to rejuvenate that kit. So, unfortunately, it's just a matter of the practicality of sourcing the used knuckles. See, every time we did that, we'd have to buy a set from the junkyard, and we bought all that they had, basically, or the local place that was willing to work with us at a certain price point that made sense, right? So we bought all those, and then getting them cut and extended, we had to take them to another shop and have the bearings pressed out, have them basically stripped down to nothing, then they had to be sandblasted, then cut, and then welded back together, and then we had to take them back, have them powder coated, and then put them all back together, like with new bearings and all that stuff. And like the time just to driving around carrying these spindles and getting them done, the price would have to be so high, but also the fact that the place that we were buying them from doubled the price on the used ones, and then the guy that we had originally doing the extended part doubled his price. So that is as many as we got. So from there, nowadays what we could do is just extend it and just, we'd send it back bare. It would just be, you could send it to us, we could get it done and then send it back. It would be, wouldn't have any of the bearings and all that stuff. You'd have to put that in. But that'd be the only practical way. And it's heavy, so shipping is a killer. So, Viper Strikes, what do you have available for 96 Civic as of right now? Okay, so the problem with like any Civic, besides the wagon, is that there's no rear subframe, so to speak. It's like welded to the bottom of the car. So we looked at doing the 1-inch subframe drop, or maybe even bigger, on a Civic, but the problem is that you'd have to, there would be some welding involved on it because of the way that rear thing is designed. So right now, the only thing we have is the 2-inch kit. It's like 1.5 spacers front and rear. So that's pretty much all there is on the 96 is that kit. So if you wanted to try to experiment a little bit with the rear subframe, because you got to relocate the rear lower control arms to make that bigger lift kit work. We do have 2.5 spacers that will fit, and you could do a 1-inch subframe kit that drops the front subframe, which would work fine, but that doesn't solve the issues in the back, because all we would have in the back is the trailing arm spacers. So in the back you would have to take where the lower control arms mount and just weld in a couple of tabs and drop it down. And all the stuff we sell, we try to make it bolt in. Although the 4-inch 97-1 CRV lift kit is not completely a bolt in. There is some welding that we recommend you do on those, but that's the issue is with the Civics, is that you have to have that rear lower control arm relocation figured out, and that's the only way we can do it without doing the big subframe or the rear drop like we have for the 6-inch kit, is to weld tabs. So that's that. Let's see. Keep putting the word out there. Hope they start selling more. I appreciate that. Yeah, subframe drop. It's a great kit. We've been trying to improve it as we go, and I think it's a pretty decent, well put together kit right now. I think one thing we're going to try to work on the pilot kits is to try to work in another a better rear spring isolator. So because I know where it mounts up now, it's kind of metal on metal, which isn't a huge deal, but I think we could make it a little better. So in the future, we're definitely going to work on that a little bit for the pilots. And I think we're talking to a guy right now that maybe can bring his pilot into our shop that will allow us to really, tear it apart and see what's possible. Because that's how we figured out all these kits, is we just get the car in and say, hey, how big can we go, So that might lead to even bigger lift kits for pilot. We may be able to do a 5 or 6 on a pilot. It just depends on if we can figure out the steering rack, the issues with the steering extensions and all that with those, and then make sure everything will actually function if you lift it that tall. So yeah, okay, Alan, Bear would work for me. Can rebuild and paint. We'll get to you on that shortly as well. I'm going to buy the toe extension. Yeah, it's yeah, you got to weigh, like you're saying, understand all that cost of running around. Time and gas equals money, for sure. And it's we have to weigh all of our time and effort and expense as like this is our investment into the piece, and we have to sell it for this much for it to even make sense. A lot of the stuff we do, we don't really make a lot of money, but it's just cool to have. So I like to sell some stuff that some of the things that we don't really make a lot of like profit after you build them, because there's so much time involved in putting them together. But it's still cool to have these things. So some of the stuff I would do even if we didn't make a lot of money, but the spindles are it's a deal breaker because it's just so expensive and impractical to make them from used parts. So we're working on it. I'd love to be able to solve that issue. We're just still a really small company. I don't have a lot of dollars to throw around at all these little problems and solving all this stuff. But hopefully, the more we grow, the better we'll be able to handle issues like that and be able to put out the products that will solve this kind of issues. So, what else? Chat's a little slow right now. Offer a here. I missed one. Here we go. One painter for hire. Sorry about that, guy. Do you offer a basic lift kit for 2007 Honda Odyssey? The short answer is yes. But the problem is the 05 generation and newer are slightly different. And if I said, okay, so the Odyssey is built on Pilot architecture, like the Pilot platform. Pilot, Odyssey, basically the same car underneath. So for me to say you can put a Pilot kit on a Odyssey, it might work, but I don't know. It might not fit. It's the front I know will fit. Like the front spacers are the same, but the back, we don't know. And the reason why is because we haven't gotten one into the shop to dig into it and tear it apart. And another reason is it's not a really popular lift kit. So we have to weigh our time and effort against what the payoff is. It's like, okay, so if I make a kit for something that may not ever sell, just to have it, I've invested that time and effort, development and all that stuff. You might not ever sell them, but again, it's like once we get past like the ones that a lot of people are asking for, because there's so many people asking for so many things, once we get those kind of dialed in and get them out, we will definitely be working on some of the less popular versions. Like we did a kit for 84 to 87 Civic, and we had a couple people ask, and we made the kits, and they have dust on them. Like I think we've only sold maybe 4 or 5 of those since we made them, and we're definitely not going to recoup development costs on that kit. So it's like I got to think about that too when I decide what kits to make. So Sleepless 247. You had to make a steering extension for my brother-in-law's Pilot. Okay, so yeah, on the subframe kit on those, it's basically intended to reuse or not to. It just uses the factory steering coupler, and it just changes the angle where it attaches, and that angle is going to invade in the sheet metal a little bit. So in the instructions, you have to kind of allow some clearance for that, which means you have to bend the metal a little bit, and there's a seal that goes over that to seal it up. But the problem is, like, you've got everything like slides in and out on the steering column. So if you have it like pull all the way up or whatever, I think there's not enough room in some cases. So the best thing to do there is to like loosen everything up under the steering column and kind of just position everything in place where it's not going to bind up, and then put it all back together. I've had that actually happen before. So that would be the solution for the 1-inch subframe kit on that one. Yeah, after installing his kit, I see the benefit of the subframe drop. Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. The thing with the subframe drop is you do lose a little bit of ground clearance, but it's like ground clearance you wouldn't have had anyway, because your axles are at such an angle. It's like you have a compromise of one way or the other. You either get straight axles and less ground clearance, or angled axles and more ground clearance. But then again, the extra angle can cause binding and all that stuff. So it's just something you have to weigh your pros and cons there. Do you have a ratio for knuckle adjustment to the top of the tire, element or second gen CRV? Trying to experiment with my strut riser to get the right center hole offset to correct the positive camber. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so what you're looking at is the way the strut towers sit on like CRV / element is they're not flat. They're at an angle like this. So if you imagine, here's your strut tower. This is exaggerated, but this is to show you what I mean. Now, if you take your strut spacer and it goes this way down, like if it's just completely straight, that moves the mounting point for your strut that way. So then you're not straight up and down. You're angled out here. So now it puts a lot of positive camber in your front wheels. So what he's talking about is instead of making the spacer straight like this, you would like angle it so that it's basically vertical with representation to where it mounts. And I have looked at that, but I think the better solution is to do the strut bottom extension on those. So I do not have a ratio, but what you could do is, okay, so if let's just say you were making your own spacer. If you took your top plate and your bottom plate and you figured out the angle of your strut tower, you would know exactly what angle to cut your center. So let's just say, for example, the 2.5, which is the biggest spacer you can do on those without the tie rod end hitting the frame too much. If you took your center and slash cut it, then your bottom spacer wouldn't be here, it would be down here. So that would make it a vertical line, and then your mounting points would be correct, and it would correct your camber. The problem with that is then you'd have to have a left and a right, and it would be more complicated to install. And for that, you can just put camber bolts in and it fixes it. So that's why we didn't really do it, because it's a short spacer anyways. Try and experiment the breadth. Shams March. Do you do a custom build with each kits you build? I think you should, and then it will get viral sales. Suspension kit. I'm not sure what you mean by a custom build. It's tough to put the word custom and viral sales in the same sentence, because custom sounds like a one-off, and the only way to really make a business make sense is to make a bunch of them and then to sell them. And if you're doing a bunch of them the same, it's not really custom. I do get the fact that if we had some kind of crazy kit out there, it would help awareness, and that's what we tried to do with the 6-inch kit. So yeah, I mean, maybe make some kind of crazy cool kit just for publicity would be kind of neat. But we're not looking at that just yet. We're actually just trying to keep up with the regular sales. So let's see. I think I'm caught up here. So yeah, if you guys checked out my hat, we sell these now. I actually sent a couple of these to Brent and the guys at Boosted Boys, and they never have worn them on their channel, so I'm kind of disappointed about that. But I was hoping they would wear them. I still got pretty much all of these. I don't think I've sold any of them. Maybe I sold one or two. And then I've got my other hats, the HRG. These are just the regular and HRG hats. But we added this to the back. It's our slogan now, sort of, I'd say. Lift the world. I don't know, it's kind of cool. We don't really sell a lot of apparel, but I would like to sell more. So, it kind of gets the name out there, so to speak. But I see what you're saying. So Sleepless 247, I did what you explained with the steering on my 03 Pilot, and it worked. 08 Pilot steering would not reach with any of those tricks. So on the 08, did you actually have the subframe kit on there? I'm curious. These are things I need to know. Because I don't know why yeah, obviously you had to. You wouldn't make an extender for just a regular suspension lift kit. Oh, Brent, yes, we do. And we just sold through the last of the large army green ones, and there's more coming. Actually, there's a couple. I didn't click out of stock soon enough, so I sold one that we didn't actually have in stock. So they are out of stock right now, but there'll be coming in. There'll be more coming in, I think, in a couple of days. My guy at NSD Designs is awesome. He designed the shirts, and he's the one making them, so they will be here pretty soon. But if you have, if you wanted a gray one or any other size besides large in the army green, we have all those in stock. So yeah, okay. So the subframe kit. All right. So let me tell you a little tidbit on the subframe kit issues. Okay, the ones that we do for vehicles that have the ones that we do for the vehicles that have the steering rack built into the subframe require the extensions. So right now, we are taking stock steering couplers and modifying them. We put them in a jig, cut them up, extend them with a thick steel ring, and weld them. There's a process. It's not like just bullshit. It's like we actually really do a strong weld on these to put them back together, then reassemble them. But there again, the problem is we're having to source these used, and now we've had a pretty good source for them up till recently. We're doing pretty well with those, but the steering coupler problem is definitely going to be a much bigger problem for us sooner than later, because we're selling more and more and more of these kits, and our supply of them hasn't changed. We can't just get more and more and more of these, because they're like raiding every single car in their yard to take these steering couplers and give them to us. We're buying all of them, and we're almost out again, and we just got a bunch in, and we've used them all. Our Black Friday sale wiped out pretty much all of our steering couplers, so we're trying to keep up with that. But the real issue is that eventually we're not going to be able to get those anymore, or we're not going to have enough to keep up with the demand. So basically what I was going to do is create some sort of a bolt-in extension that would, it would just slide over top of the splines on the steering rack, and then it would just have another set of splines coming out, and you could just reuse your steering coupler. But I haven't gotten it done. I don't know how to make that. I actually had talked to the guy at Mike at Insane Shafts about possibly manufacturing those for us, and I may have to just fly out there or something and see if we can't design something. And if I could do that, I would put a steering extension in all of those kits, and we could do even bigger ones, and it would solve a lot of problems. But up until now, I haven't had the time to figure that out. But that we do have a solution in mind for that. So that way we could provide those. We talked yesterday. Oh, Honda trucks. Yeah, man. You zigzag my center hole. Yeah, you know what you could do if you were really crafty is you could do. I've seen this on Subaru lift kits. You've got a top plate, a bottom plate, and then they basically slice the center of it, and then they've got two more plates with slots in them, and then you can bolt the top and bottom half together in any position that you want. So that might be something to think about. Like just have, you could do like the spacer would be a two-piece spacer, and then just slot it. Get like a couple of grade 10.9 bolts to hold it together. But that way you could just adjust it right on the spacer itself instead of trying to, I don't know, you'd have to figure out angles, and then you just be left with whatever you got. Bought a new steering coupler from Honda for $45 plus shipping. Yeah, I know they're not cheap. They're not cheap. Yeah, I mean that might be what we can order them all from Honda. Order 200 steering couplers from Honda. I'm sure they wouldn't raise an eyebrow at that. Who's this guy in North Carolina buying 200 steering couplers? I could just see it now. My 06E is going total green 6-inch lift when they're ready. Hell yeah, dude. He's getting jealous of the V. That's awesome. Tire size. Okay, so we got another one here. I can't read this username from this. Oh, from the south. All right. the tire size information about the Pilot, will it be the same with second gen Pilot as well? No, not necessarily. I would say outer diameter you could go with, but as with every car manufacturer, every year they put bigger and bigger wheels on them. So your first gen might have like 16, 17-inch wheels or whatever, and then second gen, or they're going to go to like an 18. So the size, the actual tire size is not going to match up because the wheel size is a little different. If you just looked at outer diameter, then you could kind of extrapolate your wheel size from that. There is a really good resource for tire size. I think it's tiresize.com or something like that. But basically you can kind of reverse engineer a tire size from your desired outer diameter and then your wheel size. So you might check that out just to figure it out and get your right wheels or wheel and tire size. Honka Trucks, thanks, Ben. Hey, you're welcome, man. I'm looking forward to working with you on that kit. I think that's going to be good. Can't wait to get that out there. I think it's going to be a really big deal. I hope it works. I'm announcing this kit now, sort of, but it's not done. And there's any number of things could go wrong, and it might not work. It's like we know that we can drop the engine 3 inches, and we know that we can make the strut bottom extension, but there are other things to consider, such as we're looking at the rear trailing arm mounts, and you can't just put two like thin spacers to drop that down. That's just not going to work because you've got lateral forces, you got shearing forces you got to consider, and if you did it that way and you hit a bump or hit anything, it would just rip them right out. And the reason I know that is because when I first started doing this, I made them and just experimenting, and sure enough, they're just not strong enough to do it that way. So it's probably going to take some sort of more significant bracket, some sort of extremely strong piece. We'll have to make something to hold the rear trailing arms with a 3-inch subframe drop, but we'll make it. I'm pretty confident, but like again, there's things that you don't consider, like how are you going to make the exhaust fit, and all those things are just little hurdles to overcome, and hopefully we can get it all done, and we'll have that kit out pretty soon. So, I'm surprised nobody's asked about second gen CRV skid plates yet. That has been just, a nightmare, really. So, I know nobody's asking, but I'm just going to talk about it anyway. The second gen CRV skid plate basically mounts in two places. You've got your basically it mounts to the subframe. There's a couple bolts that go into the subframe, and then in the front half it's going to mount to the radiator support. And the problem is, what we found is if you have a subframe drop, the mounts are all going to be different, and that's kind of what we tried to do with the first gen skid plate. We had a little there's like slots, and you can adjust the height. We did that so if you had a header, you could drop it down, or if you had a whatever, you could just adjust it. But for these, we've got to figure out the bracketry and make it all fit for the subframe kit, and it's like, I don't know, it's challenging, trying to figure it out. I think we've got it figured out, but it's still, we've got some stuff to figure out. There's still a few things to do. The problem, other thing too, when we first made the second gen skid plate, which we've made one a while back, and we put it on and it looked like absolute crap. It stuck out too far, and it didn't quite, we wanted it to kind of hug up against the front bumper a little bit better. And the one we had was just, it looked ridiculous, honestly. So we scrapped it, but we made it in two pieces just for the sake of making it easier to ship. So we have a bunch of back halves stacked. They're all like finished, and we can't do anything with them. Actually, we may try to use them and make the front half just kind of bolt up to those so we can, kind of get them done. But, I think really the second gen skid plate is going to be just a start over to ground up, whole new design in the end. And it just, stuff like that, it just takes forever. You make one and then you realize you made a mistake, or, make the skid plate and then you're like, shit, you can't get to the oil drain. Stuff like that. It's kind of trial and error, and we'll get it done. Let's see. First gen Ridgeline, that's where it's at. Love mine, even though my lift isn't HRG. You know what? That's cool. You know, we only really started doing Ridgeline stuff, I guess probably a year ago, and it really hasn't even caught on until earlier this year. So, you know, there's been other companies that have been doing Ridgeline lifts way before us. You know, you got to think the Ridgeline's been out since 06, and we've only been around since 18. So there's, you know, 12 years that people have been making lift kits before we came along. So, yeah, the Ridgeline is a really cool platform, and I'm really happy with how the lift kit worked on that truck. And you know, obviously, I think I say obviously, but I think HRG is the only company that offers a subframe kit for first gen Ridgeline. So, you know, the guys that did the Traxta kit, because you buy a Traxta kit, you can buy a 2-inch spacer, but you can also buy like the shim plates. So I've seen guys that run like the Traxta 2-inch, and then they put like stack a couple of shim plates in there, and then they get the axle wobble. And you know, it's kind of inevitable when you go that high without a subframe kit. So hopefully, you know, those guys will find us, and then, you know, they can have HRG parts even though they got a Traxta lift kit. Oh, nobody mentioned a 6-inch lift kit for the Ridgeline. Maybe. It's not impossible. The problem, like with any of these cars, like I said earlier, with the steering rack built into the subframe, is that those vehicles you have to have the steering extension. So on a Ridgeline, you would have to have that, and I don't want to start making those until I can solve that issue. Because before, or even right now, we're buying the extensions or the couplers and just extending them. And for a 6-inch kit, you'd have to extend them 3 inches, which isn't, you know, yeah, but, you know, the availability on those is becoming a problem. So if we can come up with another solution, like a bolt-in solution for the steering extension, then there is no limit. Well, there is a limit, but there's no limitations besides that for making a 6-inch kit for the Ridgeline. Traxta Trucks 2-inch kit. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's awesome. First gen, second gen pilot skid plates. Who do we got in here? We got about 11 people. I guess that's good. It's my first live stream ever. Never done this before. My son had to help me get it working. But we got it. Are there any first gen CRV guys in here? I was going to show you guys something. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. Yeah, I don't know how to do the super chat. All right. Brent Early. Okay, so this is something I want to show you guys. Okay. I've got here in my hands a rear upper control arm for first gen CRV / Civic. This is the Block's rear upper control arm. And these were not cheap. And the only reason I have them is because our supplier ran out of the kind we normally get. And I had to fill some orders. And I'm really embarrassed that any of these actually went out the door. I thought Blocks would be somewhat decent, especially how much these cost. But they suck. And I'll show you what I mean. This is a brand new one. Okay, I guess that's not broken. I thought that was broken already. But look, you've got a rubber isolator right here, rubber bushing. And if there's any kind of lateral movement or really any kind of use, period, that rubber disintegrates and then this just gets all loose and it falls apart. Another thing I want to point out is it's welded right here and that could break. This again is rubber and this will deteriorate in a really short amount of time. I was very, very disappointed with these, especially for how much they cost. I can't really say anything positive about this. Now, the ones that we sell are they're Revo Technica, and these are also not cheap, but they're so much better. This has a cast end, it's not welded. If you look at this really close, it is a cast piece, and they're urethane bushings. These will last so much longer than those shitty rubber ones. This is a much heavier, I mean, it's much heavier, which I guess equates to better quality, but it's solid, it's not going to just break or fall apart. And again, you got your urethane bushings here. But I just wanted to point out, like, there's not many that are made this way with the cast ends and the urethane bushings, especially at the price point that we sell ours for. I know Trueheart makes some really nice ones. SPC makes some that are decent, but these are actually manufactured by Revo Technica, and I'm really happy with the quality on these. So if anybody was curious about that, I just brought them to the live chat to show you guys the differences. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, I sent the good ones. Well, yeah, I actually, these were something we ran out, I think it was about a year ago. And we didn't quite have the buying power that we do now, so we couldn't get them direct. And the place we were getting them from they just had a few on the shelf or whatever, and then they just didn't have enough to supply us. So we ran out, and we had to buy these, and it was a mistake. But now we can buy these basically by the pallet load, and we won't run out, thank God. Sleepless 247, appreciate your work and love the quality of your kits. Keep up the good work. Merry Christmas. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys, being so kind and being so positive. And I love doing this, and it's a fun business. And hearing people say nice stuff like that, it makes it even better. So I really appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you too. Yeah, anybody else? Got 11 more people. Very nice, very nice. Subframe kit without a lift. Do any good? No. So if you, Edward McKay, take a minute to, maybe not right now, but watch watch the video we made for Ridgeline. It's on my channel, and it's explained in the beginning how, like, you can't think of it as a body lift like a traditional vehicle. Like a regular truck, you've got a frame. All the suspension is attached to that frame, and then the body goes on top of that. And then, so you can put spacers between that framework and then the body, and it lifts it. But for these cars, it's not the same thing. Like the subframe kit doesn't really lift the entire vehicle up. It just lowers the subframe and allows you to put a taller strut spacer on there, because that's where the suspension connects. It doesn't connect to the frame, it connects to the body. And it's explained a little better in the video, but if you look for it on the channel, it's 3-inch lift kit for Ridgeline. So take a look at that, and it'll kind of go through all that stuff. But yeah, a subframe kit without a lift, nah, man. It just reduce your ground clearance. It wouldn't help you at all. So, Josh, what's up, dude? My first live stream. What do you think, man? It's good to see you here. All right, so here we go. Cool Cat 312. Could I build off of the 2-inch kit I've already got with your subframe kit to get 3 inches? Yeah, I mean, the 2-inch kit and the 3-inch kit are two completely separate deals. There's no way to really add to it to get 3 inches. You would have to replace everything, basically. And I know that is unfortunate, but you get different strut spacers with 2-inch and 3-inch. So you've got, and I don't know what car you have. Let's see, does it say? No, you've got, okay, so you've got a Ridgeline. So, Josh. Yeah, so to build off the 2-inch kit, what you would need is a higher lift in the front. Like our kit comes with 2 3/4 spacers in the front, because that's as big as we could go before the axle angle got out of control, even with the 1-inch subframe drop. And the rear, okay, in our kit we have an option for a 1.5-inch rear spacer or a 2-inch rear spacer. Now the 1.5 is the combination between the 2 3/4 to 1.5 rear is a level lift. It's going to sit flat with no load in the back. The 2-inch rear is going to make it have that same rake, which is it sits higher in the back than the front. So if you carry a lot of weight or a bunch of shit in the back, or you tow, you probably want to do the 2-inch rear. But I don't know what those other kits come with as far as the rear spacer, but you can't really stack spacers on top of each other. So it would be basically swapping the entire thing out, unfortunately. What I could say, though, is you could probably sell that kit, if it's, spray painted or something, and put it on eBay. But yeah, there's no really upgradability from the 2-inch to the 3-inch without replacing everything. Total cost of a 2-inch kit with the subframe, 2012 Ridgeline. Well, we don't have the 2-inch kit packaged as such with the subframe kit. It's, we only packaged it with a 3-inch kit. So in that case, you would be buying them separately. And the pricing would be probably $6 something. I don't know. My best skill is forklift donuts. That's awesome. You can come to work for me and do donuts in the shop. That'd be funny. Yeah, I tell you, Edward, I'd say you could price it on the website. We don't have it packaged as such for like a package deal. So you'd have to go with a 2-inch kit, and then the subframe kit would be separate. So, but it would cost more than just buying the 3-inch kit all by its, all together. Ridgeline with 2-inch. Josh, yeah, we did all our presents yesterday, man. So we kind of got it out of the way. Hey guys, just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to grab a drink. Don't go anywhere. All right, I'm back. All this yakking's causing my throat to get dry. All right, who else is on here? Anybody else? You guys got to tell your friends to join the chat, man. Hey, so what do you guys think of this picture back here? If you guys haven't seen this, this is basically a screenshot from one of our videos. But one of my buddies that we go to a lot of the Gambler 500s with, he actually put it into a poster and gave it to me. It's so freaking cool. We had I think there was 6 people up in the roof basket, and we were ripping up and down the road, and we were all just having a crazy time. And there may or may not have been alcohol involved, but we all lived. It was a great time. Crazy stuff. We know there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on at the Gambler 500s. You guys should check them out if you haven't. You should definitely check out a Gambler 500. Oh, that's a good one, Josh. All right, so you guys see Josh's comment here. He said, "I just lifted," which he isn't. This isn't his vehicle. He's one of my guys, and he probably just got this call. I just lifted my Element. I did the HRG 2-inch lift, replaced all my other suspension, and now it's lifted 4 inches. Why? Well, listen. The aftermarket struts are a complete and total unknown. When you swap 2 things at once, you've entered another variable into the equation. So if you say, all right, I've got a completely stock vehicle, put the spacers on with no other changes, you're going to get what you're going to get. It's a known constant because our spacers don't change height. They're the same height. They're all the same. And, I would say we've probably sold, I would say we've probably sold about 500 Element 2-inch lifts. So we got one guy out of the 500 that we've sold that got 4 inches of lift. But if you look at what he says, I changed my suspension as well. I changed my struts and springs and all that stuff as well. Well, there you have it. You know, it's not like you put a 2-inch kit on and then it magically becomes a 4-inch kit. It's not how it works. So, you know, I had another video out, I think I put it on Facebook, about our shop CRB, where we did a 4-inch kit, and it was like, I don't know, it didn't quite do right. It was like, you know, the suspension sort of collapsed after we drove it for a while, and we had replaced everything, but it was like cheap stuff. We just bought stuff off Rock Auto just to put new stuff on there because the factory stuff was completely worn out. And I know a lot of people do that when they put these lift kits on, is they replace them with new stuff. But the problem is you don't know what you're getting. If it's aftermarket stuff, it's you know, it could be a different spring rate, it might be a different you know, shock absorber, it might be a different size. Who the hell knows? And what has happened there is the guy got more lift with the aftermarket struts in combination with the lift kit. So he ended up with a lot more lift. And that's the same thing that happened with our shop CRV. We actually swapped in some different struts and got another full inch just from changing from one quick strut to another. It was a whole inch. It was unbelievable, like how much difference it made. And it looked a whole lot better, obviously, but it's like that just proved the point of you never know what the hell you're going to get with aftermarket struts. Now, I will say one other thing. If you have never, well, let's just say you've never worked on a car before, you jack it up in the air. Okay, we're talking about a completely stock car. No lift kit, no nothing. You lift it up in the air with a jack, and then you drop it off the jack. It's not going to rest at its final ride height until you like roll it back and forth a little bit, because the suspension, the way it moves on these, it's got, you know, geometry, and the tires are going to come down like this, and then it's going to kind of hold itself up with friction from the tires. But then once it rolls, right, everything settles in. And I think one guy, he had called, he was mad, and I took this call, and he was talking about how he got so much lift and he was angry about it, and I was like, I asked him specifically, I was like, well, did you just drop it down off the jack? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, did you roll it around to settle suspension? And he said, no. And I was like, well, I mean, it seems like an obvious thing for someone that works on cars, but somebody that doesn't know anything about cars, this is where they get tripped up, because they don't know that you have to settle the suspension a little bit to get your final ride height. And, you know, the guy was wigging out at me, and I'm like, dude, just do me a favor, please. Just go out there right now, put the wheels on, roll it back and forth. And he did, and it was fine. So he overreacted, not knowing that you have to settle the suspension a little bit to get your final ride height. So that was another, just a weird thing that, you know, we ran into. But the guy, you know, figured it out, and everything was fine. But, you know, again, the variables of the aftermarket struts is you just don't know. You know, it's, you know, the best thing I would say is share knowledge with other people that have done it and say, hey, what setup did you use? Okay, so let's just say this guy that got too much lift, you know, maybe he went on the forums and he said, he could have asked, hey, what setup do you guys have? I have Gabriel struts front and rear. I have a 2-inch spacer front and a 1-inch spacer rear, and this is what I got. Well, if it stands to reason, if you did those exact things, you would get that exact result. So I don't think he did that. He just threw some parts together and not knowing what was what, and I think he ended up with a lot more lift because of that. Or maybe he just didn't settle the suspension. I don't know. But hopefully we can get him sorted out and figure out what we need to do to get that right. But, you know, our lift kits are just a static piece, and it's not like, you know, there's differences from car to car. Maybe there is, but we've been doing them hundreds and hundreds of kits, and this is the first time we've had that issue. So, Brent, love what y'all doing. This brought me back to loving Hondas. That's, see, our whole philosophy is we're trying to do stuff that makes people have a new way to love their cars. I haven't had one in years, and then this first gen CRV fell in my lap. Can't wait to get it on the road. All right. Yeah, you know, the first gen CRVs are really fun and very capable platform. And it's nice to, you know, to fix them up. Edward McKay, will ride quality and reliability change with any lift kit? Well, let's talk about ride quality first. Okay, the thing with the spacer lift kits is that it doesn't change the spring rate or the shock dampening whatsoever. Those are a constant. Those stay the same. All it does is make everything sit a little bit higher up. So let's contrast that with the OME springs. You got an Old Man Emu setup, which is basically a spring lift. Now, by necessity, that spring has to be either longer or stiffer to achieve the lift. So let's just say it's stiffer, your suspension doesn't compress as much. It can't possibly ride as good as a stock spring and shock setup would. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a difference. So let's just say all of the things being the same, you put spacers on, the ride quality is going to be exactly the same as it ever was. As long as you install everything properly, it'll be the same as it ever was. The reliability, no, it's not going to be as reliable. It's just, it's kind of like asking, if I soup up the motor on my car, is it going to be reliable as reliable as stock? No, it's, anytime you modify a car, and everybody that knows that modifies cars will know, like, if you start modifying stuff, it's always going to compromise reliability in some way. But then again, it's just a compromise. If you want to be able to drive over stuff, you put a lift kit on, yeah, your axles are going to probably wear out faster. It's not going to handle as good if you whip a turn and all that stuff. But the compromise for being lifted has to be worth all the drawbacks. So, yeah, reliability, it's tough on bushings, it's tough on wheel bearings, all those things. It's just something you have to learn to you have to be expecting, and you have to deal with it. So let's see, what else have we? Let me go back a little bit. Is there a max safe bolt length you would use for subframe drops? Well, the maximum bolt length depends on the side load of where it's attached. So let's just say we have a super long bolt, right? And that bolt is going through a spacer that's only an inch wide. So now you've got this whole length, and now you've got to leverage against that mounting point. And if there's nowhere for the load to spread, it's going to concentrate all that shearing force into one point. So the bolt itself doesn't really, it's fine as long as you can have the load that the bolt is going to face, like have it spread out among, the surfaces. So that's why, like, on our bigger kits, we have bigger, wider spacers to spread that load so it doesn't just shear it right off. So maximum length is going to depend on, availability of bolts. It's extremely difficult to find long bolts in the thread pitch that Honda uses. It's like a needle in a friggin' haystack, and they're extremely expensive. So there are limitations there, but as long as you keep the shearing forces in check with, greater surface area for your spacer, then it's fine. Let's see. My CRV gained 1.5 in rear with new poly bushings and such. Has your 3-inch kit and sub kit. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's the poly bushings and all that stuff help a lot because it allows everything to kind of move freely. With your rubber bushings, it's a static piece that just twists inside the bushing itself. So if you're bolting everything together with rubber bushings, it's not going to move as freely, and therefore not give you as much lift with as it would if you use the poly bushings. And that's one of the things we did on the War Wagon right away is we got rid of all the rubber bushings and put poly bushings in there, and it helped a lot. Let's see what else. Hey, CRB Tom is with us. What's up, Tom? Hope you're feeling all right, dude. You got a freaking stuff going on up there, and blizzards, and oh man, I wouldn't want to live in South Dakota. I'm just saying. Although it was cold here today too. So yesterday, 61 degrees in North Carolina. I love it. Today is a little colder, but I still wouldn't want to be dealing with a blizzard. That's no fun. Unless unless you like blizzards, I guess. I don't know. And if you guys don't know, CRV Tom also has a YouTube channel. Lots of really, really good information on there. Really cool guy. Got a lot of content on CRV first gen. And he's got one that's lifted and one that's lowered, which is totally awesome. He's got the best of both worlds. So, and his CRVs have been featured on the cover photo of Lifted Honda Society. I don't even know how many times. I kind of want to disqualify him. He's won so many times. But his pictures are always so good, so it's cool. He keeps winning the cover photo on that. But check out Tom's channel. I think he's right around 1,000 subs now. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to CRV Tom, definitely go check him out and subscribe. Let's see. I really like answering all these questions, you guys. This has been really cool. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any. I'm kind of going back a little bit. I got a question for you guys. How many of you guys have watched my other videos? And then of those guys, have you watched all the way to the end of the videos? Just type in I've watched or I have or something like that, so I see who has watched some of my other videos. Oh yeah, Josh, definitely. We're gonna swap out the wheels and tires first, and then probably do a lift. And the wrap is definitely on the agenda. So it's funny. I was actually kind of worried doing this live stream that because when I'm filming like regular videos, for whatever reason I belch a lot. I don't know what it is. Maybe nerves. It's making my stomach contract. I was worried that I was gonna be like burping every 5 seconds on the live stream, but so far so good. But yeah, the all the videos usually have like outtakes at the end where because I always mess up my words and I'm always doing something stupid and messing something up, and so I try to take some of the funnier ones and put them at the end of the videos. So it's like a little payoff for the people that watch all the way to the end, which is very, very few. Most of my videos only get a couple hundred views anyway, and there's like by the time the end of the video, it's like viewership is down to like 3 or 4 or something like that, or whatever percent. So it's kind of funny, but yeah, no, that's cool. Appreciate you guys watching. Yeah, some of the earlier ones aren't that great. The first video I ever uploaded was me doing the door swap on the War Wagon. I think that was 2017. So it's about 4 years now. I think it was February something 2017. So yeah, that was the first one. It's kind of bad. But hey, you know what? It just shows how far we've come. And whenever I made that video, I think it was 2017 that I started really making these things. Because like, built the War Wagon in 2015. It debuted at the H Day, which I won this second place award for whatever it was. I think it was Extreme Build or something like that. And that was like spring 2016. And then at that point, I wasn't even sure if I was going to do, lift kits or what the hell I was going to do. I was struggling. And I made a couple, and people were starting to ask. Like, I had a couple of people that saw the War Wagon, they're like, holy shit, this is awesome, man. How did you make this lift kit? And then, at the time, I'll tell you a funny story for those of you that want to listen to me talk. The Subframe Kit, I'm going to tell you the genesis of the Subframe Kit. You guys can tell your friends, but this is some crazy shit, all right? Listen to this. On the first gen, on the EF Civics, if you look at the back motor mount, all right, now this is pretty much all I think. If you've never touched one, if you see one that's completely never been messed with, if you look at the back motor mount, there's what's called a weight I don't know what it's for, like a dampening weight or something like that on the rear motor mount. So the bolt goes through this little weight and into the mount. Well, that little weight just happens to be 1 inch tall. So what I did was I grabbed one of those from all the Civics I could find in the junkyard, and that was my first subframe kit. And basically I had to go around and take bolts out and this and all these other cars to try to find one that was a different length or whatever. But that was literally the genesis of the subframe kit, was I found those little weights on the motor mounts. And I just happened to find them, and I was like, because I had a Legacy Outback, and the Subaru Legacy Outback has a factory subframe kit, believe it or not. There's like little spacers about a half inch tall throughout the entire car. That's how they got the lift on those. So I knew the concept back then. And then I grabbed those spacers and just, you know, found the bolts and made it work, and that was the first subframe kit for the War Wagon. That was back in 2017, I think. So I'm looking at these. I absolutely love the outtakes. That's my favorite part. I know, right? It's just funny. Well, you haven't fogged up the camera, so it's not gassing out the other end. Thanks for being out there. Seems like most channels overlook Honda trucks. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too. You know, the Honda stuff, the lifted Honda stuff, I think is just becoming, it's just now starting to originate. Like, it's becoming more of a trend, I think, than it ever was. And I'm not taking any credit for that, but it just seems like my timing was perfect for making this company, and all the stuff that's kind of come around now and all the popularity of lifting is just, you know, it's been more recent. So I think I've positioned the company very well for that. So I'm excited to see what the future brings for sure. So yeah, see, I think we're caught up. Got 14 people. Yeah, so I'm surprised nobody's asked why I'm doing this on Christmas Day. And I'll tell you, even though nobody's asking, basically today's a free day for me. You know, every other day of the week, 7 days a week basically, I have to work on HRG. You know, it's Sundays I work pretty much all day, every single day. And you know, it was nice. Josh Wolf and I went to Utah not too long ago and had a little bit of time off, and that was nice. But you know, since then and before that, I basically work 7 days a week. And today, you know, it's like it's Christmas. Nobody's gonna be, you know, I don't have to ship anything. I'm not answering the phone. It's like I just needed a day. But basically, that's why, is because today's ended up being like a free day for me. And the kids are gone. You know, they're with their moms, and you know, I'm just kind of sitting at the house, kind of hanging out. And I was like, you know what? This would be a perfect opportunity to do a quick live stream and, you know, answer questions for people and all that. So that's why it's on on Christmas Day. Lifted Honda guide. Listen to this guy. Funny. HRG has made gravel backing it in my driveway. No, is it fun again? Maybe he means backing into my gravel driveway. That's awesome. Are the t-shirt sizes true to size? Yes. I spent extra money on the shirts, and I'm using what is it called? I don't know what brand. Super Soft. They're really high quality. I can't remember now. There's something super soft, and I wanted to make sure I didn't buy some crappy shirts. You know, if you guys see my shirts, they actually have the HRG logo in the back. They're not tagged. I had the shirts made specifically for HRG, and they are true to size, and they're really high quality. So, and I didn't bring any with me. I should have brought some to show you. The H-Day plaque. Well, it was just, you know, it was 2016. Brought the War Wagon out for its first, like its debut, basically. I say that like it was a big deal. Back then, I just built the car, whatever the hell, and brought it. And I'll tell you in a second, Tom. Sleepers247, you think my triple XL ass will fit in the double XL? I mean, we have triple XL. We have a couple of them. You can order a triple XL. I hate rolling around in the dirt working on my cars. When I see green, I can't wait to get out there. Well, that's nice, man. That's awesome. I hate rolling around in the dirt, too. You can buy one of my shirts and wear that when you roll around in the dirt. Keep you clean. So, Tom, the story about the H-Day plaque. Okay, so let me just back the story up a little bit. Basically, the reason why I built the War Wagon in the first place was because I had just gotten through building a crazy EK hatch. Super nice, wire tuck, shaved. It was custom paint. It was a really high quality build. And I brought it to H-Day 2015. And I had that, and I had a completely, like, all original bone stock Civic sedan. It was like pristine, all original. People walked right past my EK. Like, it was all built to the nines. I mean, it was a badass car. Nobody even batted an eye. And it wasn't, for me, it was like, I realized what I had done was I did what everybody else had done. I didn't do anything new. I didn't break any new ground. I didn't do anything different. And that was what I really wanted. Like, that's what I craved, was to be different. And so the idea of doing something opposite of what everybody else was doing was the genesis of building the War Wagon. It's like, okay, everybody else is building low, fast, shiny cars. Like, what can I do opposite of that? All right, let's build a lifted, slow, not shiny, just crazy shit everywhere, like sticking out, and let's do that and just see what happens. And it actually ended up being a lot more successful than I thought. You know, just taking the whole concept of building a Honda at the time and flip-flopping it around. So that's what got all the buzz going, is that it was just opposite. And then the show I brought it to, was like, they didn't have really a category for me because it was just so different. So they put me in, I think it was like Extreme Mod or something like that. And I don't know what won. I got second place, but some other car, I guess, was more extreme than the War Wagon. I guess. He probably had like Lambo doors and stuff. But anyway, it was pretty cool to get recognition. And I haven't really taken it to a show. Actually, I did. I won the IBOC meet. I won a trophy at the IBOC meet with it too. But I just don't really take it to shows that much. Most of the time I'm taking it out in the woods and breaking it. So it's not like a trophy queen. It's I beat the crap out of it. So maybe I'll take it some shows next year. We'll see. No triple XL option for Heap shirts. You might be right. Maybe I just didn't add it. Tell you what, check back with me like early next week. I'm pretty sure we have some triple XLs. I'm almost positive because I know that was one of the options. I think I only have a couple of them, but let me just check. If not, I know I have triple XL War Wagon shirts, but let me just check. And I probably just didn't add it on the website, but let me check, and I'll just check back with me next week. Different is awesome. Challenge and motivating. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to be different. Looks I get in my first gen Pilot with 285/50. I bet. Yeah, Pilots are awesome. Especially lifted ones, obviously. T-shirts are amazing. I have two myself. Fabric feels great. Quality definitely lasts through many washes. Yes, they do last. I have some that I wear, regularly, and, I wear them a lot. And they still look great. No problem. It's like a whole philosophy of everything I make. I try to make everything as high quality as I possibly can, including the shirts. I don't want to put out cheap product. So who else still with us? We got 13 people on here. Nice. Couple people. I think I got everything. Anybody else got any questions? Meet awesome people in the lifted Honda world, and the people I meet when their eyes bug out if I lifted Honda rig. It's really cool. Yeah, we've put a lot of effort into curating a really high quality group of people with Lifted Honda Society. And I'm sure most of you guys are on there. If you aren't, you should join, and you should tell your friends, as long as they're cool, obviously, to join. And me and Tom and Josh, and I think George Parks, I think there might be one other guy, run the page, and it's surprising still how nice everyone is. Because I'm on the RD1 forums as well, and people are not nice on there. There's trolls, and it's like, oh man, you better not ask a tire question on those forums. Holy crap, they rip you to shreds on that forum. But like, if you go to Lifted Honda Society, it's like, hey, what size tire? You might get one guy that says, hey man, use the search bar. But most of the time, there's like, people are so freaking nice on there. They're like, yeah man, this is the size and this and that. Even though the question's been beaten into the ground, they still take the time to help new people. And that's important, because if you're trying to grow a community of people, and the first person that they come in, the first question they ask, if they don't know anything, they get shot down, they're going to be like, I don't want to be part of this. Fuck these people. Like, I don't want to be a part of a group that's going to act that way. So to me, just being super nice and answering that same question over and over, as tiresome as it may be, it might be that person's first interaction with lifted Honda guys. And if they get a positive reaction, they might be like more likely to get into that, which I think is really cool. So that's one of the things I love about LHS, is that everybody's super nice and they take the time to help people. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted that group to be. CRV. So when are we getting the 20-inch lift kit for first-gen CRV so we can compete with Whistling Diesel? You know what, Tom? That's pretty funny, because I'm going to tell you, I just had like a little crafty idea today. And I'll tell you, okay, so let me just explain. I thought about a great video would be to... Uh-oh, are we frozen? Oh, no, okay, we're not frozen. So... check this out for an idea for a video. All right, so we've got 3 cars, and I guess 3 would be appropriate, the 3 I'm asking about. We got a first-gen CRV, let's say the best of the best, a 2001 CRV. You've got a, let's say, 2001 Subaru Forester, and then a 2001 RAV4. And I think a great video would be a test to the death, to see which one is toughest, which one is best off-road, which one has the best, four-wheel drive system, all those things. Now, I know right off the bat, Honda might be at a little bit of a disadvantage because of the rear diff. They suck in these. It might be, kind of an Achilles heel. But I think it would be really cool to just test the cars and see which one really is like the best off-road, and just keep pushing them until something breaks and find out what breaks. I think it'd be a really cool comparison. And at the risk of exposing the CRV maybe as not the greatest of the 3 of those that I just mentioned, but I think it would hold its own. I think it would be awesome. I think it would be fun to make the video, and I bet people would watch. So that was a thought I had. Yes, we do have a great team. Thank you too. We appreciate. Yeah. Oh yeah. I love my guys. There's a couple guys that aren't on here. Jake and Ian. They work in the shop. They're both really awesome. And my guys that do tech support. That's a tough job, and they do a great job on it. If you haven't bought a Christmas present yet, you can give gift of lift. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I see a show in the future, rival Diesel Brothers, HRG gang. Hell yeah. Yep. Maybe. Yeah, did you guys? I know Tom has. Did you see the latest Whistling Diesel where he buried that snowcat in the mud? Holy crap! He had like 5 tractors hooked to that thing to get it out, like big ass tractors, like in chains and everything else, trying to get it out. It was hilarious. That guy's a legend. I don't care what you say about him. I love his content, even though he just destroys everything. You can't deny the genius there. Yeah, another thing about collaborations, I've been trying to get Boosted Boys to do something with us. I actually talked to Brent a while back. You know, if you guys follow Boosted Boys, you know they had that guy, Ponchy. He had a wagon, and he ended up passing away a while back. And so they still have his wagon, and Brent had reached out to me about possibly doing a lift kit on it just to do something different, like an off-road build. And I said, hell yeah, man, let's do it. And then it was like, by the time we could organize to get together, they blew up. Like their channel, and they're just so freaking busy now. Like there's just no way. And I've sent them a couple of care packages, and I sent them a viscous coupler for. In fact, as far as I know, the viscous coupler I sent them is still on the Odyssey. But I just can't get a hold of those guys anymore to coordinate that. But it would be cool to do like a collab with them and do the lift kit on their buddy's wagon. But man, they've got like 10 project cars now, and you know they're back and forth between Florida and Colorado, and it's like I don't know if it's gonna happen. So we'll see. Let's see a show in the future. Ben, thanks a lot for what you have done for the community. Yeah, man, you're welcome. It's a lot of fun. See here be Tom. Yes. Pilots need more love. Yeah, I know they do. And you know, for them to get more love, we need to get our hands on one. And I need to get someone local. And I think it was a guy that replied to my my video about giving the $1,000 away. Because in that video, I talked about needing to get some local people to come in to get these kits done. And I think there was a guy that responded on there that said he might be able to bring his in. If he does, we can build all this stuff. I want to build like, you know, like light pods and, you know, mounts for light bars and shit like that. And then, you know, maybe we could do flat racks. I don't know if we'll be able to, I don't know that we'll be able to do flat racks, but I want to. And then, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. We could do brush guards. We could do, you know, rock sliders, all those things. So, Hills will be the CRV kryptonite. Yeah. But other than that, I think she should do good. I can tell you one thing. She got around better in the snow during the blizzard than my Tundra did in four-wheel drive. I mean, the Tundra's a big, heavy beast, man. So, and if you don't have, like, off-road tires on it, it's not going to do well. I had a Tundra. It was pretty good in the dry, but not in the snow. I'm in Spartanburg. I'll come up to you next month, hopefully. Yeah, man, do it. You know, our shop is open. You know, nobody's come by yet. But literally, you can drive to our shop, open the door, and there we are. It's like, you know, it's an actual business now. So, you know, we can 8 to 6 Monday through Friday. Come on in. My Pilot is an extra vehicle for me. If you need to let me know. I'm in Chicago. Oof. You know, here's the thing. The reason I don't like to do them far away is because A, we don't know how long it's going to take. B, if there is a problem, man, it's a nightmare. You know, because if we're doing something we've never done, let's just say we're prototyping a part, and we put that part on, we have to be able to test it, right? So let's just say we built a lift kit, and you drive your car back to Chicago, and then 2 weeks later, something breaks because the lift kit was whatever, right? Like something we couldn't have foreseen, something we couldn't have predicted or whatever. Now what? You're in Chicago with a broken car. So it only makes sense for us to have it local because it allows us that testing. And that's really a very important part of these lift kits is being able to test everything and beat on it. Break stuff on purpose just to see what the weak points are and then improve it. But we can't do that long distance. It's got to be local. Oh man, I'm getting cold. Yeah, so Tom, the CRV climbing hills, I think honestly, for stuff like that, you'd probably be better off in an automatic. You know, the automatic you can basically ride the torque converter and climb those hills, and it gives it more torque than if you were in manual. You know, Josh can attest to this. Being a manual, you just run out of power. You don't get any revs unless you go fast, but you eventually will drop out of the power band and it just stalls out. Just to keep it as long as you want, just to kill the engine. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but again, it's, you know, being able to drive around, test it, and just in everyday life, everyday daily driven situations is extremely helpful for making them, you know, bulletproof, because that's what it's got to be. I can't sell a kit if it's not well tested. So, you know, all the ones that we have out now are tried and true, but if we want to build something different or something new, you know, it's got to be tested thoroughly. So what do you guys think? First live stream? Don't kill the engine, exactly. I mean, it's a 3.5. Those things are extremely hard to blow up. You have to be doing something really stupid to blow one of those up. Yeah, Tundra's on stock tires right now, 19,000 miles. Ooh, is it brand new? Hell yeah, dude. Should have got a Tundra. You should have got a Raptor, honestly. All terrains. Yeah, I mean, the stock tires are going to be like an all season. They're not going to do that great. V8 energy drinks. Yes. I get these things in the bulk quantity. I'm not a coffee guy, so I'm getting my caffeine from those. I used to drink sweet tea every day, but I found out that those drinking sweet tea every day can give you a kidney stone. Oh, the V8 Energies have all natural sweeteners, and it's, you know, green tea, so it's a little bit. I'm going to say it's a little bit more healthy. I don't know, but I didn't want to get a kidney stone, so I stopped drinking sweet tea. Originally from North Carolina and has 358,000 miles on it. Holy crap! Man, that's a lot. That is a lot. Whew. Man, I wonder. I mean, I guess at 358, you've had to have had all the major stuff done. You know, like your timing belts and all that stuff's got to have been done. So it's probably fine. It wouldn't last that long up north. Some guy was just saying, thanks again. First stream was cool. Thank you, man. That's it's been pretty cool so far. If it wasn't pouring outside, I'd be applying the ideas you shared. Hey, you know what? Maybe the sun will come out tomorrow and you can get in there and get on the ground and get dirty and do some stuff. No, I was going to say, there was a guy that just posted in LHS. I think it was LHS. Maybe it was RD1 group. And he was from Ohio. And man, his shit was rusted through. It was, you could see through the metal. It was rusted. Holes, big holes rusted. And he was asking how to fix it. And I'm like, dude, you don't want to fix that. If you start fixing that, there's no end to the rust. And he's like, if you try to take bolts off. Tom's been through this with that blue car. You start taking stuff apart, everything's rusty, everything's going to shear off. It's just a nightmare. And the more you uncover, the worse it gets. So, like, I'm telling him, like, dude, just get another shell. But what's crazy is that guy's car only had 100,000 miles on it. It's like brand new, basically. But it was completely rusted out from being in Ohio. So, get you a Southern car, you know. That's the way to go, for sure. Frankie tuned on LHS if you wanted to check it out. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully you'll spot me around Spartanburg and Lifted Pilot. I'll see you around. Hell yeah. Lake Jocassee. How do you say that, Josh? Jocassee? Yeah, because, okay, the place we normally go is Uwharrie. It's Troy, North Carolina, Uwharrie Mountains and all that. There's like a really awesome off-road spot, but they're closed for the season now. So we don't have a place to go. So if there's trails somewhere that are open right now, let me know because I would love to check them out. I think, and George Parks isn't on our live stream here, but he was posting earlier about taking his car to some off-road spots. So I'd love to see where he's going. I'll take it, or I'll take something. I'll take something to go off-roading. Yeah, thanks, Tom. It's been fun. I'm not sure when I'm going to shut this off, but I'll wait for the questions to die down, I guess. I think it's like the same 15 people have been on here the whole time. Which has been cool. I'm happy to be here. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about the work truck. Yeah. Tom's saying he just got a new job and he got a free work truck. He's not sure if they really thought that one through. Yeah, man. Put some lift on there. Put some big tires. Tell them, hey, you had to have it for the snow. I mean, it's just be real here. Trails around Lake Jocassee are open, but not rough by any. Oh, well, we need rough. We need to be challenged. I mean, the scenery would be cool. Yeah, 44-inch boggers. There you go. 10-inch lift on that bitch. Yeah. Yeah. Next year, opening day, I think, is sometime in early April or late March, where Uwharrie will be open again. So hopefully we'll be able to get something out there and start beating on stuff again. That'll be good. Well, what do you guys think about that idea, though, of testing CRV next to a Forester, next to a RAV4? I know you guys are all Honda guys, but you got to give them a fair shake. I mean, they're all kind of the same, the same fundamental type of car. They're all all-wheel drive. They're all little crossovers, and they're all very similar. So I think it would be really cool. No, I just got to figure out how I'm going to buy 3 vehicles. I just sold my 2000 CRV. You guys know the guy who bought that CRV, like the shop CRV? I don't know if you guys know who he was. Yeah, HRG website is HRGengineering.com. Yeah, Project Blue. That thing was a waste of time. So the test, yeah, I think it would be cool. I think it would be something a lot of people would tune in for. I think it would help grow the channel. Most reliable CRV, least capable CRV. He's probably right. I recently did a video on an installation for an early Forester. I think it was like an 02 or something like that. And it was like, I got under it and I got to, get my hands on it. And I was like, man, this thing's pretty awesome. Like the way it's built. The only thing that's wrong with the Forester, well, there's 2 things wrong with the Forester. One, the engines are terrible. Any boxer engine, they're all friggin' terrible, man. The head gaskets like to blow. The valve covers like to leak. It's just a terrible engine. But the way the car is designed is really conducive to lifting. Everything is super freaking easy. It's very simple. The rear suspension is very simple. And that is the idea. Making it simple to lift. These first-gen CRVs, that all the suspension arms and the double wishbone and all the links and everything make it a real pain in the ass to get the geometry right when you lift. But the Foresters are super freaking simple. The other problem with Foresters is it's a McPherson strut front and rear. So a McPherson strut has far less suspension travel than the double wishbone like in the CRVs, first-gen CRVs. So that was kind of the reason I wanted to put them up against the 01, is because if I did the 02, obviously that one has McPherson's in the front and it would still have like limited travel. So I think the CRV would have the advantage as far as articulation. It would be able to flex a lot more than the Forester. And I think that would give it an advantage over certain obstacles. So I think we got to put a test in there that's going to favor that flex for the first gen CRV. And then the Toyota RAV4, I'm not really sure of anything about that. I imagine the RAV4 has probably got an indestructible engine, so that'll probably be, you know, something to contend with. But as far as the rest of it, it's, you know, I haven't gotten my hands on one yet, other than just making spacers. We actually have spacers for first gen, or not first, I keep saying that. The Toyota RAV4, we actually have lift kits made for the Toyota RAV4. But I haven't yet gotten my hands on one to like make it work, make it fit, and test it and all that. That's why I haven't released any of those. Hey, you're welcome. Absolutely, it was fun. It was fun. I think I might wrap it up here in just a few minutes, unless anybody else has anything interesting to ask. I think it's pretty much the same people that have been on here this whole time, unless anybody else is new. It's Haley. My question is, can you bring butter and nutmeg over to my house? Kitchen emergency. Why am I not surprised? All right, yes, I will wrap this up. I appreciate everybody that came to watch. If you guys think it would be a good idea to do it again, I may just do that. I was actually expecting to answer a bunch of what tire size can I fit. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You know, check out our website, hrgengineering.com. You know, buy some hats. Buy this hat, please. I've only sold like a couple of them. I guess that's it, guys. Check out, we got another video coming out very, very soon. There's going to be a whole how-to on the second gen, like the whole kit, start to finish. Second gen is going to be up pretty soon, and we're doing a the first gen CRV 4-inch lift kit video. That one's been delayed because I lost the chip with the footage on it again. So I've had to do some reshoots, but we've got all the video footage now. I just got to put it all together, and that will be done. And then we'll do the second gen one as well. So that's it. I'm out to install CB radio in the CRV. Oh, well, good. Maybe we can talk while we're on the trails. Go save Christmas dessert. It's your hands. Don't let us down. Yes, I will come and save the day. All right, guys. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video.